Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, today I want to talk about something we all encounter in life. Whether we like it or not, toxic people. They come in all forms. The naysayers, the critics, the manipulators, the ones who try to tear us down and dim our light. They are everywhere, but here's the thing. We do not have to let them define our lives. Now you might wonder, how should I deal with these toxic people? Well, let me share with you how smart, strong, and emotionally resilient people handle toxicity. They don't react impulsively. Instead, they take a step back and observe with clarity. They choose not to give in to the negativity because they know that their peace of mind is far more valuable than any drama. Smart people understand that toxic individuals are often reflections of their own internal battles. They do not take things personally. They know that someone who tries to bring you down is struggling with their own insecurities, fears, or unhappiness. It's important to remember that how others treat you says more about them than it does about you. Toxic people often show up in our lives in ways that can be disruptive, draining, and painful. It can be easy to think that their behavior is a direct reflection of us, our actions, or something we've done wrong. But when we shift our perspective, we realize that the toxic energy they carry isn't truly about us. It's about them and what they're carrying internally. When someone acts in a toxic manner, it's often because they are struggling with deep-rooted issues that they haven't yet faced or resolved. These unresolved challenges manifest in various forms: bitterness, anger, jealousy, or a need to control. At the heart of these behaviors is usually some kind of inner turmoil, insecurity, or pain that they are unwilling or unable to deal with. They may not even be aware of the negative impact they're having on others, as they are too consumed by their own internal battles. For instance, a person who constantly criticizes others may be doing so because they feel inadequate or unsure of themselves. By putting others down, they temporarily elevate their own sense of self-worth. Similarly, someone who manipulates or tries to control others may do so because they feel a lack of control in their own life and need to exert power over their environment to feel secure. The truth is, toxic behavior is often born from feelings of vulnerability, fear, and insecurity, feelings they may not even fully understand. In many cases, the toxic person's behavior stems from their own past experiences, painful moments that have left scars, fears that have not been addressed, or wounds that have never fully healed. These emotional scars can shape the way a person views the world and interacts with others. If someone was deeply hurt by someone they trusted in the past, they may carry that hurt into every new relationship. The distrust, resentment, or bitterness they feel becomes projected onto those around them, even when it has nothing to do with the people they're interacting with. It's a cycle that feeds on itself, because instead of healing and processing their own emotions, they push that unresolved pain onto others, perpetuating their own suffering. What's important to realize is that none of this is a reflection of you or your actions. It's not a sign that you're not worthy or that you're doing something wrong. Toxic behavior is a reflection of the other person's inability to deal with their own struggles. Their issues are theirs to deal with, not yours to absorb. The sooner you realize that, the sooner you can release the burden of feeling responsible for their actions. This understanding is key to protecting your peace and emotional well-being. Moreover, when we accept that toxic people are acting out of their own unresolved issues, we can approach the situation with empathy rather than frustration or anger. This doesn't mean we should tolerate their behavior, but rather that we can try to understand where they are coming from without internalizing their negativity. Recognizing that someone is struggling doesn't excuse their behavior, but it can help you detach emotionally and give you the clarity to handle the situation with more grace. However, it's crucial not to fall into the trap of thinking you can save or fix them. This is another pitfall that many people face when they encounter toxic individuals. They feel that if they just show enough patience, understanding, or kindness, they can somehow heal the other person. The truth is, you can't fix someone who doesn't want to change. Healing is a deeply personal journey, and each individual must take responsibility for their own growth. We cannot be their therapist, and you should not sacrifice your peace trying to take on a role that isn't yours. At the same time, acknowledging that toxic people are struggling doesn't mean you should tolerate their behavior or let them continue to hurt you. Do you? Understanding that their actions are a product of their inner turmoil can help you see things more clearly, but it doesn't mean you need to let them affect you negatively. You have every right to set boundaries, protect your mental and emotional health, and walk away from toxic people when necessary. When necessary. See, Fokka, you deserve to be surrounded by people who uplift you, support you, and encourage your growth. The next time you encounter someone who exhibits toxic behavior, take a step back and remind yourself that their actions are a reflection of their internal struggles, not a reflection of you. Their criticism, manipulation, or negativity is not about your worth. It's about their inability to cope with their own issues. By recognizing this, you free yourself from the emotional weight of their actions and protect your own peace. Understanding that toxic behavior is rooted in pain and insecurity helps you navigate these situations with more compassion and less emotional strain. Ultimately, you have the power to decide how much of their negativity you allow into your life. Protect your peace, set boundaries, and remember that their struggles are not yours to carry. Toxic people often show up in our lives in ways that can be disruptive, draining, and painful. It can be easy to think that their behavior is a direct reflection of us, our actions, or something we've done wrong. But when we shift our perspective, we realize that the toxic energy they carry isn't truly about us. It's about them and what they are carrying internally. When someone acts in a toxic manner, it's often because they are struggling with deep-rooted issues that they haven't yet faced or resolved. These unresolved challenges manifest in various forms: bitterness, anger, jealousy, or a need to control. At the heart of these behaviors is usually some kind of inner turmoil, insecurity, or pain that they are unwilling or unable to deal with. They may not even be aware of the negative impact they're having on others, as they are too consumed by their own internal battles. For instance, a person who constantly criticizes others may be doing so because they feel inadequate or unsure of themselves. By putting others down, they temporarily elevate their own sense of self-worth. Similarly, someone who manipulates or tries to control others may do so because they feel a lack of control in their own life and need to exert power over their environment to feel secure. The truth is, toxic behavior is often born from feelings of vulnerability, fear, and insecurity, feelings they may not even fully understand. In many cases, the toxic person's behavior stems from their own past experiences, painful moments that have left scars, fears that have not been addressed, or wounds that have never fully healed. These emotional scars can shape the way a person views the world and interacts with others. If someone was deeply hurt by someone they trusted in the past, they may carry that hurt into every new relationship. The distrust, resentment, or bitterness they feel becomes projected onto those around them, even when it has nothing to do with the people they're interacting with. It's a cycle that feeds on itself, because instead of healing and processing their own emotions, they push that unresolved pain onto others, perpetuating their own suffering. What's important to realize is that none of this is a reflection of you or your actions. It's not a sign that you're not worthy or that you're doing something wrong. Toxic behavior is a reflection of the other person's inability to deal with their own struggles. Their issues are theirs to deal with, not yours to absorb. The sooner you realize that, the sooner you can release the burden of feeling responsible for their actions. This understanding is key to protecting your peace and emotional well-being. Moreover, when we accept that toxic people are acting out of their own unresolved issues, we can approach the situation with empathy rather than frustration or anger. This doesn't mean we should tolerate their behavior, but rather that we can try to understand where they are coming from without internalizing their negativity. Recognizing that someone is struggling doesn't excuse their behavior, but it can help you detach emotionally and give you the clarity to handle the situation with more grace. However, it's crucial not to fall into the trap of thinking you can save or fix them. This is another pitfall that many people face when they encounter toxic individuals. They feel that if they just show enough patience, understanding, or kindness, they can somehow heal the other person. The truth is, you can't fix someone who doesn't want to change. Healing is a deeply personal journey, And each individual must take responsibility for their own growth. You cannot be their therapist, and you should not sacrifice your peace trying to take on a role that isn't yours. At the same time, acknowledging that toxic people are struggling doesn't mean you should tolerate their behavior or let them continue to hurt you. Understanding that their actions are a product of their inner turmoil can help you see things more clearly, but it doesn't mean you need to let them affect you negatively. You have every right to set boundaries. Protect your mental and emotional health and walk away from toxic people when necessary. This You deserve to be surrounded by people who uplift you, support you, and encourage your growth. The next time you encounter someone who exhibits toxic behavior, take a step back and remind yourself that their actions are a reflection of their internal struggles, not a reflection of you. Not a reflection of you. Their criticism, manipulation, or negativity is not about your worth. It's about their inability to cope with their own issues. By recognizing this, you free yourself from the emotional weight of their actions and protect your own peace. Understanding that toxic behavior is rooted in pain and insecurity helps you navigate these situations with more compassion and less emotional strain. Ultimately, you have the power to decide how much of their negativity you allow into your life. Protect your peace, set the boundaries, then remember that the struggles are not yours to carry. Life is filled with distractions, challenges, and countless demands that can easily pull us in many different directions. Whether it's societal expectations, personal ambitions, or the opinions of others, we are constantly faced with pressures that can cloud our true sense of purpose. However, when we take a step back and focus on what truly matters, we unlock a deeper sense of fulfillment and meaning. Embracing your purpose and aligning your actions with your core values is the key to living a life that feels intentional, impactful, and genuinely satisfying. One of the first steps in embracing your purpose is identifying what matters most to you. In a world that often encourages us to follow predefined paths or chase after external success, it's easy to lose sight of what brings us true joy and fulfillment. Our purpose is unique to us. It's the intersection of our passions, our values, and the impact we want to make in the world. Understanding what matters to us on a deep level requires introspection, self-awareness, and a willingness to let go of external pressures. By taking the time to reflect on our values, interests, and long-term goals, we can gain clarity on what truly aligns with who we are and what we want to contribute to the world. Once we have a clearer sense of our purpose, it becomes easier to focus on what truly matters. We can start to filter out distractions and redirect our energy toward the things that align with our values and long-term vision. This doesn't mean we have to completely disregard other aspects of our lives, but it means we prioritize our purpose over things that don't serve us or bring us joy. By focusing on what truly matters, we are able to live with greater intention, make decisions that are aligned with our goals, and feel more connected to the impact we want to create. Embracing your purpose also means learning to say no to things that don't align with your vision. We live in a culture that often praises busyness and productivity, and it's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of doing everything for everyone. However, this constant juggling of responsibilities can leave us feeling overwhelmed and disconnected from our true purpose. Saying no is a powerful tool in reclaiming our time, energy, and focus that allows us to protect our peace and invest in the things that truly matter. Saying no isn't about being selfish. It's about protecting your purpose and ensuring that you have the bandwidth to focus on the things that align with your core values. Another essential aspect of embracing your purpose is learning to trust yourself and your instincts. Often, we are conditioned to seek approval or validation from others before taking action. This can lead to self-doubt and a lack of confidence in pursuing our own path. Trusting yourself means having faith in your own abilities, decisions, and intuition. Always. When you align your actions with your purpose, you are honoring your inner guidance, and this can lead to a deeper sense of fulfillment and confidence. Trusting yourself also means letting go of perfectionism and accepting that mistakes are part of the journey. But progress is not always linear, but every step forward is a step toward fulfilling your purpose. To truly embrace your purpose, it's also important to stay focused on the long-term vision rather than getting caught up in short-term gratification. In a world that constantly demands instant results, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. However, true fulfillment comes from long-term growth and impact, not from fleeting moments of success or external recognition. Embracing your purpose means staying committed to your journey, even when progress feels slow or difficult. It's about trusting the process and understanding that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. By keeping your focus on the bigger picture, you can navigate the ups and downs with resilience and determination, knowing that the hard work you put in today will pay off in the long run. Another critical element of embracing your purpose is learning to align your actions with your values. Our values serve as the compass that guides our decisions, actions, and relationships. When we act in alignment with our values, we feel a sense of integrity and authenticity that strengthens our connection to our purpose. On the other hand, when we compromise our values for the sake of external success or approval, we can feel disconnected, unfulfilled, and even lost. Embracing your purpose means staying true to your values, even when it's difficult or when others may not understand. It's about living in a way that reflects who you truly are, not who others want you to be. Focusing on what matters also means cultivating a mindset of gratitude and abundance. When we focus on our purpose, we tend to become more aware of the positive aspects of our lives, which can lead to greater satisfaction and fulfillment. Gratitude helps us stay grounded in the present moment and reminds us of the things we have rather than the things we lack. An abundant mindset encourages us to believe that there is enough room for everyone to succeed and that our success does not diminish the success of others. This mindset shift allows us to celebrate our achievements and those of others without fear or jealousy, and it opens us up to greater opportunities for collaboration and growth. Living with purpose and focusing on what matters also means making intentional choices about how we spend our time and energy. Our time is one of our most valuable resources, and how we choose to spend it directly impacts our ability to live in alignment with our purpose. Embracing your purpose requires prioritizing the activities, relationships, and experiences that align with your vision. This may mean letting go of commitments that no longer serve you, cutting out distractions, or making space for the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. By being intentional with our time, we ensure that we are investing in the things that truly matter and moving closer to the life we want to create. Another key element of embracing your purpose is the willingness to evolve and adapt. Life is not static, and our purpose may evolve over time as we grow and change. Being open to change allows us to continuously refine our vision and adjust our course as needed. It's important to remain flexible and adaptable on our journey, knowing that our purpose is not a fixed destination, but an ongoing process of growth and self-discovery. Embracing this fluidity enables us to remain connected to our true purpose, even as it evolves in response to new experiences and insights. Ultimately, embracing your purpose and focusing on what matters is about living a life that is aligned with your deepest values, passions, and goals. It's about making choices that bring you closer to the life you envision, staying committed to your long-term vision, and trusting yourself along the way. When you embrace your purpose, you free yourself from the distractions and pressures of external expectations, allowing you to live authentically and with intention. By focusing on what truly matters, you create a life that feels meaningful, fulfilling, and rich with purpose. In life, we are constantly faced with situations that are beyond our control, whether it's the actions of others, unexpected challenges, or circumstances that seem unfair. While we cannot control everything that happens around us, one of the most powerful choices we do have is how we respond to these situations. The ability to choose our responses is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves, and it directly influences our emotional well-being, relationships, and overall quality of life. Many of us have experienced moments where we felt triggered or upset by something someone said or did. Our immediate reaction might be anger, frustration, or even sadness. It's natural to feel these emotions, and in some cases, they are justified. However, what often gets overlooked is the fact that our reactions are not automatic. They are choices that we have the power to control. By understanding that we can choose how we respond, We unlock the ability to rise above our circumstances and handle difficult situations with grace, patience, and resilience. The first step in choosing how we respond is becoming aware of our emotions. It's easy to react impulsively when we are caught off guard or when something challenges us. But by pausing and acknowledging our feelings, we gain clarity about what is happening within us. When we allow ourselves to fully experience and understand our emotions, we create space for a more intentional response. Instead of letting our emotions dictate our actions, we take a step back and decide how we want to show up in the situation. For example, when someone criticizes us or makes a hurtful comment, it can trigger feelings of defensiveness or anger. However, in that moment, we have the choice to respond from a place of understanding or to react out of spite or frustration. If we choose to respond with anger, we may escalate the situation and damage our relationships. On the other hand, if we choose to respond with calmness, empathy, or even silence, we are not only protecting our peace, but also demonstrating emotional maturity. Choosing our responses also requires us to take responsibility for our emotions. It's easy to blame others for how we feel, but the truth is that our emotional state is ultimately our responsibility. No one can make us feel a certain way unless we allow it. By taking ownership of our emotions, we stop giving others power over how we feel and how we react. This shift in mindset is incredibly empowering because it reminds us that we are the ones in control of our emotional responses. This doesn't mean that we should suppress or ignore our feelings. It's perfectly valid to feel hurt, angry, or upset when something goes wrong. However, it's crucial to differentiate between feeling an emotion and acting on it in a way that might not be in our best interest. Emotions are messengers. They signal what is happening within us. But they don't have to dictate our behavior. We can choose to acknowledge our feelings and then decide how we want to respond in a way that aligns with our values and goals. In many situations, choosing how we respond can lead to greater understanding and resolution. For example, when faced with a conflict, our initial impulse might be to argue or defend ourselves. But if we pause and approach the conversation with curiosity, asking questions and listening to the other person's perspective, we open the door for a more productive and empathetic dialogue. By choosing to respond with open-mindedness, we create the possibility for growth, connection, and mutual respect. One of the key benefits of choosing how we respond is that it allows us to preserve our peace. When we react impulsively, especially in situations where emotions are high, we often regret our actions later. We might say things we don't mean, hurt others, or make decisions we later wish we hadn't. However, when we take the time to pause, breathe, and reflect before responding, we are more likely to act in alignment with our true intentions. This helps us avoid unnecessary conflict and maintain a sense of calm, even in the face of adversity. Choosing how we respond also involves setting boundaries. In situations where we feel disrespected, taken advantage of, or overwhelmed, we have the power to set limits and assert ourselves. We can decide not to tolerate certain behaviors and communicate our needs clearly. Setting boundaries is an important aspect of self-care, and it's essential for maintaining our mental and emotional well-being. By choosing to protect ourselves from situations that drain us or cause unnecessary stress, we are taking control of our responses and prioritizing our peace. Another aspect of choosing how we respond is reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. Life is full of obstacles, and it's easy to fall into the trap of seeing them as setbacks or signs of failure. However, when we choose to respond to challenges with resilience and a growth mindset, we transform them into valuable lessons. We can view difficulties as opportunities to learn more about ourselves, to develop new skills, and to build greater strength. This shift in perspective allows us to navigate life's challenges with greater confidence and optimism, knowing that every experience, no matter how difficult, can contribute to our personal growth. In addition to individual situations, the way we choose to respond has a ripple effect on our relationships. Our reactions influence how others perceive us and how they respond to us. When we choose to respond with kindness, empathy, and understanding, we encourage others to do the same. This creates a positive cycle of respect and cooperation. making it easier to build and maintain strong, healthy relationships. On the other hand, when we react with hostility or defensiveness, we can create division and tension, making it harder to connect with others. Ultimately, choosing how we respond is about taking control of our own lives. It's about recognizing that we are not passive victims of our circumstances, but active participants in how we navigate the world. Every situation is an opportunity to choose our response, and in doing so, we shape the direction of our lives. By choosing responses that are thoughtful, deliberate, and aligned with our values, we create the kind of life we want to live. The ability to choose how we respond is a powerful tool for cultivating inner peace, building stronger relationships, and living with greater intentionality. It allows us to rise above challenges, avoid unnecessary conflict, and stay true to our values in the face of adversity. By embracing this power, we can navigate life's ups and downs with grace, resilience, and a deep sense of personal agency. In life, we all face challenges and adversities. It's inevitable that at some point, we will encounter people who hurt us, betray us, or treat us unfairly. Whether it's a personal relationship, a professional setback, or an unexpected loss, these experiences can leave us feeling angry, frustrated, or wronged. The natural human instinct might be to seek justice or retribution, to make the person who hurt us feel the same pain that we're feeling. But the truth is, seeking revenge or trying to get even only keeps us tethered to the very negativity and pain that we are trying to escape. Revenge can seem like a sweet temptation. It promises a sense of satisfaction, a feeling of getting back at those who have wronged us. But in reality, revenge rarely provides lasting peace or healing. It may feel gratifying in the short term, but it often leaves us trapped in a cycle of negativity, bitterness, and anger. The person who wronged us might not even be affected by our actions, and in the end, we may be left with a sense of emptiness or regret, having wasted energy and time on something that ultimately doesn't bring us closer to peace or happiness. When we seek revenge, we allow the person who hurt us to control our emotions and our actions. We give them power over our mental state by letting their actions dictate our responses. In this way, revenge is not an act of empowerment, it is an act of weakness. By allowing someone else's negativity to dictate how we react, we lose control over our own peace and well-being. Instead of choosing how to respond from a place of strength, we let ourselves be drawn into a cycle of negativity that only deepens our own suffering. It's important to recognize that seeking revenge doesn't heal the wound. It doesn't erase the hurt or the pain caused by the other person's actions. In fact, it often prolongs the healing process. When we focus on retribution, we keep ourselves locked in the past, constantly reliving the hurt and the injustice. Instead of moving forward and finding peace, we get stuck in a loop of anger, resentment, and desire for retaliation. It's like opening up a wound over and over again, preventing it from healing. Rising above the desire for revenge means choosing a different path, one that leads to peace, personal growth, and emotional freedom. It's about taking control of our own emotional state and not allowing others to dictate how we feel. It's about choosing to let go of the need for justice and instead focusing on healing ourselves. When we let go of the desire for revenge, we free ourselves from the emotional burden that comes with holding on to anger and resentment. By rising above, we take the power back into our own hands. We refuse to be defined by the wrongdoings of others. We understand that while we can't control how others treat us, we can control how we respond. This shift in perspective is incredibly liberating. Instead of allowing someone else's actions to determine our emotional state, we take responsibility for our own happiness and peace. We choose to rise above the situation, not because the other person doesn't deserve consequences, but because we understand that holding on to anger only harms us. Forgiveness is a powerful tool in this process. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning or excusing the behavior that hurt us. It doesn't mean that we have to allow the person who wronged us back into our lives, or that we should forget what happened. Forgiveness means choosing to release the grip that anger and resentment have on us. It's an act of self-liberation. By forgiving, we free ourselves from the emotional weight of the situation, and we allow ourselves to move forward with a sense of peace. Rising above also involves focusing on our own growth and healing. Instead of wasting time on revenge, we turn our attention inward and focus on becoming the best version of ourselves. We use the pain and the challenge as fuel for personal development. Every setback, every injustice, every wrong is an opportunity for us to grow stronger, more resilient, and more compassionate. By focusing on our own progress, we stop allowing the actions of others to define us. Instead of becoming bitter, we become better. We become better. Choosing to rise above and not seek revenge also means letting go of the need for external validation or approval. Sometimes we want to see the person who hurt us suffer or face consequences for their actions. But the truth is, justice and karma often take care of things in their own time. By letting go of the need for external validation, we free ourselves from the burden of waiting for someone to pay for what they've done. We stop putting our energy into something that we have no control over, and instead, we invest in ourselves and our own journey. It's also important to remember that the desire for revenge can often be rooted in our own insecurities or wounds. When we feel hurt or betrayed, it can trigger deep-seated feelings of inadequacy or vulnerability. Seeking revenge can sometimes be an attempt to prove our worth or restore our sense of power. But true power comes from within, from our ability to rise above, to forgive, and to choose peace over conflict. Seeking revenge only reinforces feelings of powerlessness, while choosing to rise above strengthens our sense of inner strength and resilience. In the end, rising above and not seeking revenge is about choosing peace, emotional freedom, and personal growth over anger and resentment. It's about refusing to let someone else's negative actions dictate our emotional state. It's about healing ourselves, learning from the experience, and focusing on our own journey. The more we practice rising above, the more we empower ourselves to move forward in life with strength, grace, and peace. And ultimately, we create a life where our peace is not dependent on the actions of others, but on our ability to stay centered and focused on what truly matters. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's easy to get caught up in the demands of others. Whether it's work, family, or friends, we often feel obligated to say yes, to be there for others, and to put their needs before our own. However, this constant giving and accommodating can quickly lead to burnout, resentment, and a loss of personal peace. That's why creating boundaries is one of the most essential practices you can adopt to protect your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Boundaries are not walls. They are tools of self-respect. They are clear lines you draw around your life to protect your energy, your time, and your resources. Without boundaries, we open ourselves up to the possibility of being drained, taken advantage of, or manipulated. We give too much of ourselves and often end up with little left to give. Setting boundaries allows us to take control of our lives and ensures that we are not overwhelmed by the demands of others. The first step in creating boundaries is recognizing that you have a right to set them. It's easy to feel guilty when you think about saying no or turning down someone's request, especially if they are close to you. But it's important to remember that self-care is not selfish. Protecting your peace and prioritizing your needs is necessary for maintaining your own mental and emotional health. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When you are constantly giving without taking the time to care for yourself, you risk becoming depleted and resentful. By setting boundaries, you make sure that you have the energy to give when you choose to, without feeling drained or overwhelmed. One of the most common areas where boundaries are needed is in relationships. Whether it's with family, friends, or a significant other, relationships can sometimes be emotionally taxing. People may expect you to be available at all times, to provide emotional support when you're not in the right space to do so, or to take on more responsibility than is fair. Setting boundaries in these relationships is vital to maintaining a sense of autonomy and ensuring that your emotional needs are also being met. It's okay to say no when you need time for yourself, and it's okay to limit the amount of emotional labor you take on. Mom? Look, healthy relationships are based on mutual respect and understanding, and part of that is respecting each other's boundaries. At work, boundaries are just as important. Many people struggle with saying no to their colleagues or supervisors, fearing that they might be perceived as unhelpful or lazy. However, taking on too much work or allowing others to overstep their responsibilities can lead to exhaustion and frustration. By setting clear boundaries at work, you communicate what you are capable of, what you are willing to take on, and what you cannot do without sacrificing your well-being. It's important to know your limits and to communicate them in a way that is assertive yet respectful. Setting boundaries at work doesn't make you less committed. It shows that you respect your time and energy and that you value your own mental health. Another area where boundaries are crucial is social media. In today's digital age, we're constantly bombarded with information, messages, and notifications. The pressure to stay connected, to keep up with everyone's updates, and to be available all the time can quickly lead to overwhelm. Setting boundaries around your use of social media is an important way to protect your peace. This might mean turning off notifications, limiting the time you spend on certain platforms, or unfollowing accounts that contribute to negativity or anxiety. By creating these boundaries, you give yourself the space to focus on what truly matters to you, without the constant distraction of digital noise. It's also important to set boundaries with your own thoughts and emotions. Many of us are our own worst critics. We allow negative self-talk, perfectionism, or anxiety to take over, which can be just as harmful as external negativity. Setting boundaries with your thoughts means recognizing when they are not serving you and taking steps to reframe or redirect them. It's about giving yourself permission to let go of the things that don't align with your values or bring you peace. For example, if you're constantly worrying about things outside of your control, setting a boundary might involve reminding yourself that you can only control what is within your power and that worrying about the rest only drains your energy. Setting boundaries also means learning how to prioritize your own needs. Often, we feel pressure to fulfill everyone else's expectations and demands, even when it means sacrificing our own well-being. However, when you set boundaries, you are making a commitment to yourself. You are saying, I am worthy of respect and care, and I deserve to protect my time, my energy, and my peace. This may mean saying no to certain invitations, turning down additional work, or taking time off when you need it. It's about giving yourself permission to honor your own needs, even if it means disappointing others or going against expectations. Creating boundaries doesn't mean you're being rude or projecting others. It's about showing up as the best version of yourself and being able to give to others without depleting yourself. It's about preserving your energy so that you can be present, supportive, and loving when you choose to. It's about teaching others how to treat you and demonstrating that you respect yourself enough to protect your time, your space, and your peace. While it can be challenging at first to set boundaries, especially if you are used to saying yes to everything and everyone, it becomes easier over time. You will start to notice the positive impact on your life, more energy, greater emotional stability, and a deeper sense of inner peace. Setting boundaries is a practice of self-love, and it is one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself. It's a way of honoring your own worth and ensuring that you are able to show up for others in a way that is healthy, sustainable, and fulfilling for you. Ultimately, creating boundaries is about taking control of your life and protecting the peace that is rightfully yours. By setting clear limits, you are creating the space to focus on what truly matters, to nurture yourself, and to live a life that aligns with your values and goals. Boundaries are not just about saying no to others, they are about saying yes to yourself. In life, we often encounter people who are struggling or hurting in some way. Naturally, we may feel the urge to help them, to fix their problems, and to make things better for them. After all, we care about the well-being of others, and when someone is in pain, it's only human to want to ease their suffering. However, the truth is that you cannot fix someone who isn't ready to change, and trying to do so can be exhausting, unfulfilling, and ultimately damaging to your own well-being. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that with enough effort, patience, or understanding, we can somehow save others from their struggles. We may invest countless hours listening, offering advice, or trying to change their mindset or behavior. But what happens when our efforts are not reciprocated, or when the other person resists change? The reality is, no matter how much energy you put into trying to fix someone, it will never be enough if they are not ready to make the necessary changes for themselves. This doesn't mean you should abandon people in need, but it's important to recognize the limits of your influence. Trying to fix others often comes from a place of good intentions, but it can easily turn into an emotionally draining cycle. You might find yourself continuously giving, only to receive little or nothing in return. This can lead to feelings of frustration, resentment, and even burnout. Worse, the person you are trying to help may become dependent on your efforts, expecting you to carry their emotional burdens without ever taking responsibility for their own growth or healing. This dynamic can foster a sense of imbalance where you are giving and giving without receiving anything in return, and ultimately, it may even damage the relationship. What's even more important to realize is that when we try to fix others, we often overlook their autonomy. Every person has their own journey, and they must take responsibility for their own decisions, actions, and growth. Just as you would never want someone to control your life or dictate choices, the same principle applies to others. People must be allowed to make their own mistakes, learn from them, and develop at their own pace. When we step in and try to fix everything for them, we unintentionally rob them of the opportunity to grow and evolve on their own. Furthermore, people can only change if they genuinely want to. Change is a deeply personal process, and it cannot be forced. While you may see areas where someone could improve, and you might even feel they would be happier or more successful if they made certain changes, they have to make that decision for themselves. If they are not ready, no amount of advice, encouragement, or intervention will make a difference. This is why it's important to let go of the idea that you can be the catalyst for someone else's transformation. Real change comes from within, and until the person is truly willing to take that step, your efforts will likely go unacknowledged. It's also vital to consider the toll that constantly trying to fix others can take on your own mental and emotional health. When you focus too much on another person's issues, you may neglect your own needs. You might find yourself sacrificing your time, energy, and resources for someone who isn't committed to making any real changes in their life. This imbalance can leave you feeling depleted, and over time, you may even begin to lose sight of your own goals and priorities. You may feel like you are constantly putting out fires for others while your own dreams and aspirations take a back seat. This is why it's so important to set boundaries and recognize when it's time to step back. You can be a supportive friend, family member, or partner without assuming the responsibility of fixing someone else's life. Sometimes the best way to help someone is to listen, offer guidance when asked, and encourage them to take action themselves. Instead of offering solutions, encourage them to explore their own options and find their own answers. This empowers them to take ownership of their journey, while also allowing you to preserve your own energy and maintain healthy boundaries. It's also important to remember that, ultimately, you cannot control anyone else's actions or decisions. You may offer the best advice, provide the most thoughtful support, or give the most loving encouragement. But at the end of the day, the decision to change lies with the individual. Trying to force change upon someone else is not only futile, but also disrespectful of their personal autonomy. In relationships, this principle is crucial for long-term happiness and stability. If you're constantly trying to fix someone, you may start to feel more like a caretaker than a partner or friend. This creates an unhealthy dynamic where one person becomes dependent on the other, leading to an imbalance in the relationship. Healthy relationships are based on mutual respect, trust, and equality. You should support one another's growth, but you should never be responsible for someone else's transformation. Each person is responsible for their own journey, and you are responsible for yours. So rather than wasting your energy trying to fix others, focus on your own growth and well-being. Encourage and support others, but recognize when it's time to step back and let them handle their own issues. By doing so, you preserve your energy, respect their autonomy, and create space for them to make their own decisions and take responsibility for their own lives. Ultimately, the best thing you can do for others is to lead by example, focusing on your own growth, happiness, and healing. Through this, you inspire others to take charge of their own lives and begin the process of transformation on their own terms.